What's going on YouTube? Cloverbells here, back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're going to be talking about the best sweeper on a Pelipper rain team. So this is something I probably should have covered maybe like a couple weeks ago, before they even announced Series 2, maybe even towards like the end of 2022. But you know, I figured, all right, I know Series 2 was announced, but maybe something like this could come in handy depending on how rain wants to function, because we already know, like, in Series 2 the Sun teams are gonna rise to prominence again with the Torkoal photosynthesis stuff with Fluttermane and Rowing Moon, etc. But maybe rain still has shots in Series 2, you never know, and then maybe something like this could still help somebody out, right? But as far as Series 1 is concerned, definitely, you know, the rain teams are very, very dominant, and you almost can't really find too much sun teams on the ladder. They just haven't really made the cut, but the rain teams on the other hand have done relatively well. And the question is, which one of these sweepers is the best potential sweeper? Well, the answer to that is it really all depends on your team and what you need and what you want out of your sweeper, right? But as far as like what the sweepers are, we're gonna at least go over them in this video, and you know, just give like pros and cons of each and potential movesets and EVs that you could potentially run. But ideally, all of them are gonna be like swift swimmers. So like, so like this ability right here, Snowcloak, we're gonna make it swift swim for the Beartic. All right, so who are our sweepers? First of all, we got the Beartic. We have the Dreadnaw, again, that's going to be Swift Swim. We have the Barraskewda, also Swift Swim. Floatzel, and then finally Palafin. Now, technically, Palafin is not a Swift Swimmer, but it is on a lot of rain teams because, you know, if you look at this base damage, 160, it does a lot of damage. And then you add rain to it, it just, like, pretty much can one-shot, you know, a lot of Pokemon. So, the question is, for your particular team, which one would be ideal, right? Well, let's get some move sets going, and then let's examine them after we have some items and some EVs and some moves. All right, so yeah, let's start with the Beartic over here. Let's take a look. All right, so starting with the Beartic here. So I feel like with all of these, they're all going to have like some kind of water stab move. So for the most part, you know, with Beartic, of course, it's going to be Terra Water, and Terra Water does a lot for Beartic, right? Because one thing is, you know, besides being in the rain, you kind of remove the fire weakness, and then you can resist the steel weakness, right? Which is very helpful for Beartic, right? Because that's two weaknesses removed, and because you're in Terra Water, now you're doing a little bit more extra damage in the rain with your water moves, right? So of course Liquidation is going to come here, and that's a stable move for Beartic. Then something like Icicle Crash, your Ice Stab, of course, and then Beartic gets access to close combat, which is actually really useful against the steel type, because, you know, normally, you know, before you even Terra Water, as an ice type, Beartic is weak to the steel stuff, but now you can punch them right back with a close combat, right? So that's also pretty interesting. And then your fourth move is either just like Protect if you're running like a Life Orb set, or just like a coverage move if you're running the Choice Band set. And in fact, we're gonna go with the Choice Band set here, just because, you know, from like tournament results, it was the more popularly used item. All right, so like in terms of like a fourth coverage move, you can go with Aqua Jet, just for like extra damage in the rain. It's priority just in case you're out of the rain. That's an option here. All right, you can even go for Brick Break to, you know, remove screens from Grimstyle. Crunch is also really nice. You know, dark damage against the ghost type like Goldango, Mimikyu, etc. That's another option that you can run. And then from here, is there anything else? Play Rough. Oh, Play Rough is really good against dragons, but then you have the ice coverage, right? But again, other dark types, like maybe even the Meowscarada, you know, just don't want to take like a Play Rough. That's also really helpful there. So again, it's really good coverage move. All right. You can even go for like Low Kick. Okay, that's another one. No, we don't need Superpower. Trailblaze, interesting. Speed Control. But then from here, yeah, I think that's it. I don't really think Menopause is worth it. So maybe Rock Tomb could be also worth it. I think that's better on something like Dreadnaw because it can get stab damage out of it. But yeah, I think just something like Crunch is relatively consistent, or even Play Rough. I think those are your two best options. Oh, it actually gets Rock Slide. Maybe that's actually pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, you have a lot of options depending on what kind of coverage your team needs. Beartic gets a lot of access to it. Let's just put Aqua Jet for now. But again, you're free to use whatever set you want with the Beartic in terms of your extra coverage. Depends on the rest of your team. If you already have Fairy coverage, then you don't need Play Rough. But if you want like a priority move on the Beartic, you can go with Aqua Jet. But honestly, in terms of like speeds here. I think we can still go adamant, but we have to invest a lot of speed because base 50 is just not that much. And you know, even in the rain, it still has its trouble. But you can still outspeed stuff like Dragapult technically. Actually, no, you can't. But what you can do is go for something like this. Yeah, 98, right? Because this will still outspeed like the Kilowattrel stuff in Swift Swim, I should say. So you have this option here, and then you can just go to the bump here with Adamant Nature. So where's the first EV bump here, right? So 176. Yeah, so right here, 174, 176. You go up by +2 in your stat here. It's every 80 EVs invested, so 80 plus 76, 156. All right, here you go. You see how you go from 185 to 187. All right, that's 2 points in damage. And then just go to the third bump, right? You just want this to be like a super bulky sweeper. 198, right, from 196 to 198. So here's the third EV bump, and then just a little bit of HP because you're just putting 1 point in the defenses, and then your remaining stuff goes in the HP stat, right? 176, a pretty solid number. And this is just a very standard Beartic Swift Swim set, you know, meant to outspeed like Kilowattrel, Talonflame stuff. So it's okay. All right. Dreadnaw. So Dreadnaw is a little bit faster, right? So let's take a look here. With the Dreadnaw, because 74 is much faster than 50, I don't have to put as much speed investment, which means I could put more in my bulk, which is very, very nice. So something like Dreadnaw, you know, we didn't have rock coverage here. We're going to have rock coverage here on the Dreadnaw, which is, I think, kind of cool. But the Terra option, I think that is best is probably Grass, because Water Rock, 4 times weak to Wrath. So we're going to need some coverage there. And I think Grass makes a lot of sense for a couple of reasons. One, to resist grass damage. That's one thing. And then two, Terra Grass in the rain, you're also taking reduced damage from fire damage, right? So that's also nice. Okay. And then stuff that wants to go for like flying stuff against you are typically like flying types, but then you just have rock coverage for that at the end of the day, right? So it helps. But we're still going to go Adamant Natured, and typically these Dreadnaws, they like to go with the Life Orb set. You know, they just want to deal a lot of damage, and then you'll have Protect in the last slot. You could even go like a 4th coverage move here, but again, that's up to you. That's personal preference, but most of the stuff is, you know, Life Orb Protect stuff. I think, again, with disinvestment, we can still go with something like this, 100, where we can just outspeed the Dragapult, and then just go for Ice Spinner, which is good ice coverage for like the potential dragon stuff, you know, flying stuff, grass stuff, like a Moongus, for example. It's just a good coverage. Like, that's Beartic's also main advantage as an ice type, right? You're able to, you know, in the rain, you're able to, you know, put a lot of pressure with your offensive coverage, like, because ice is notorious for like having good offensive coverage but then bad defensive benefits, right? But Beartic also, again, you know, just going back to the Beartic, even though I'm still talking about Dreadnaw, the ice is really good in the rain because you're able to like take reduction in the fire damage, right? So there's the idea there. But with Dreadnaw, Liquidation and Rock Slide, you know, something that's relatively standard. I have seen stuff like, you know, Head Smash. You can definitely go for that, or you can even go for like Rock Tomb stuff if you don't want Protect. But I think this is just like a standard Life Orb set that just makes a lot of sense. All right, and then from here, you can just honestly max out your attack. 183 investment is pretty good. I'm sorry, 252 investment is really good for a 183 stat. And then from here, you can put enough to optimize Life Orb chip. So I think just this much is okay. 179 HP. Again, with the Life Orb, you want to end in a 9, because when you do your HP stat divided by 10, it'll end in a 9. So in this case, it's 179 divided by 10, 17.9. And in Pokemon, it rounds down, right? So it will round down to 17 damage per turn. And then if you break the threshold like this to 180, then, you know, you just take 18 damage per turn, 1 extra HP per turn. You don't need to do that, so just go under the threshold. And then from here, you know, you just put 1 point in the bulk, and then just add the rest in your special defense, right? You're smaller of the 2 defenses. Again, these are just like sample EV spreads, you know, without like trying to calc for anything. I'm just going for like benchmark stuff and a little bit of optimization, but I'm not really calculating for any damage stuff. But the rock coverage here is something that you don't get in the Beartic. I mean, you could go for Rock Slide, but again, the rock is your stat move here. You don't have to put as much investment in speed. You can put more in your attack stat and also your bulk, which is also pretty nice. But then if you look here, right, 176 HP versus 179 HP, not too much of a difference. So still more or less the same boat. 183 attack stat, 198 attack stat. So the Beartic will probably do more damage. But in terms of like bulk, the Dreadnaw has some advantages here, but for the most part, it's roughly the same. But the main thing is just the rock stab advantage, right? But yeah, moving on to like Barraskewda over here. So with Barraskewda, again, another life orb user. A lot of these are life orb users because you want your swift swimmer to put on a bunch of pressure in the rain, right? So again, another protect set, but the staples here is liquidation and close combat, which is something again Beartic gets access to. And the main thing also with close combat, besides hitting the steel types, you're able to also put pressure on the mouse hold stuff, right? And if you can get a quick KO on a mouse hold, that's actually really good. It helps your team a lot. So that's the same thing with Barraskewda over here. And again, because of these Pokemon, right, they have such low speed stat. But then Barraskewda, has a very high speed stat. But then look at its bulk. It's actually the weakest of the 5, right? I believe Floatzel. Okay, maybe Floatzel. I think it's like the weakest one, right? It just depends on how you look at it. Base 61 HP versus 85 HP, but like 50s in the defenses. This one is 60. Give or take. Either way, I just want to outspeed mouse hold, right, with the close combat stuff. That's really all I need. All this speed in this as a swift swimmer, you just over speed, right? Just even 1 point, like 157 plus 157, and then you add Pelipper's Tailwind. That's just busted, right? So maybe I might even consider in some games not even bringing the Pelipper, but like still being able to outspeed some fast threats like the mouse hold, for example. So still gonna go Adamant Nature for sure. I want that attack bonus. Where are you? 179. So this will speed tie the mouse hold. If you want to speed creep stuff and then potentially speed creep the speed creeper, you can go to 181. And then from here again, you're just maxing out the HP, a little bit of life orb optimization. You have 40 EVs left, so you can just honestly just split this up evenly if you're not trying to comp for anything. And then this is pretty much it. This is just a spread to outspeed mouse hold, deal a bunch of damage, a little bit of life orb optimization, and that's it. All right. If you want to like sacrifice a little bit of life orb damage, and then just go for the life orb chip, you can just do this. You go to 149 instead of 139, and then you're at 212 adamant. Just a little bit less, but a little bit more bulk. But if you just want a little bit more damage, then you just max it out here and just split up your bulk with defense and special defense. Hardly should make a difference. But this last move here, this could be again up to you depending on coverage. I know this thing gets poison jab. I've seen that on a few tournament teams. This is good against like the Sylveon stuff, good against Grimmsnarl stuff. Just things that you can put pressure on with poison damage. All right, but of course Terra Water is ideal because you're dealing a lot of damage with liquidation. 123 attack stat is pretty good. You have other options. You can even go for something like Crunch again, the dark coverage against ghost stuff like Goldango. That's also an option. It just all depends on what your team needs. You can even go for Ice Fang for ice coverage on this. Typically a lot of these rain sweepers, they always have like some kind of ice coverage. So that's generally also a way to build it. All right, what else we got here? Psychic Fangs to also destroy screens. That's also an option. Throat Chop again, dark coverage, same as Crunch. But I believe that's it in terms of like physical moves. Yeah, you don't need to use Thrash. So it really depends on you. I feel like Poison Fang is pretty cool. Something against the fairy stuff, especially like Sylveon. So if you need like poison coverage for the fairy type, this is a pretty cool tech choice. But again, it all depends on what you need. All right, let's move on to Floatzel. So with Floatzel, the one thing that Floatzel get that these other three don't get at all is besides liquidation. You could go for that, but it gets Wave Crash, which is the strongest water stab, I believe, of these bunch. So Wave Crash does a lot of damage. You're going to take some recoil, so you're going to need some HP investment for sure. But in terms of speed, like, again, with the speed, you don't really need all that much. Like, if I put a Life Orb on this thing, which I will, and then, even this, like, 136 is okay. I might even just go to, like, 138. This will outspeed Goldango at the very least, right? And then you can opt for, like, Crunch as a coverage move. And again, you don't even need the Rain for the speed boost, right? You can just outspeed it naturally if it is a modest Goldango. All right, but in terms of like moves, again, I believe this also gets ice coverage. So you see the common theme here: water stab and ice stab. Really good against you know, a lot of the meta stuff, especially with the dragons and the grass and the flying stuff. But for here, again, it's all up to you, depending on what your team needs. If you want to use Floatzel, you can go Aqua Jet for priority. You can go Brick Break for breaking screens. What else is used? A Helping Hand, another good support tool if you need it. Low Kick if you want to have that. What else is there? Dig is interesting. I don't think you need Headbutt. Yeah, I'm just looking for... Oh, Rock 2. Again, speed control. But really, it all depends on you. I'm just going to go with Brick Break. Just because it's a good fighting move against something like Mousehold. And, you know, you can break screens. So there's some merit to that. Again, you can also use the fighting coverage against the steel types and the Garganical stuff. So, yeah. How would you EV this? Again, Adamant Nature. You can also just max the attack here, just like the rest of them. A little bit of Life Orb chip, so you can go to like 169 here. That's not too bad. Or we can go a little bit bulkier and go to 179. That's also another option. And then split up the bulk between the defenses with 88. So you can do something like this, where this is 44 and this is 44. That's an option. Or you can just go 1 point in the bulk like this. Right? And then just opt for the next 80 EVs. Up to, you know, 228 investment where you're at 189 HP, right, for the Life Orb optimization. So but you can pretty much see like a common theme here. Again, it's just like water damage, ice coverage, and then some random the coverage move that you're gonna need against, like, you know, other stuff depending on what you don't have on the team already, right? All right, the Palafin is the only non-Swift Swim user, but again, once you get 0 to hero, you have the highest base damage out of all of them. It's just all about positioning with your Palafin. I've seen Choice Scarf, I've seen Choice Band. I believe right now the band is winning in terms of like usage. So we'll pick the band. But again, it's Jet Punch. You know, priority move, base 60 in the range is going to do a lot of damage. Flip Turn is what is going to let you pivot out and get your ability going once you come back in. Also gets access to close combat, just like some of the others. Really good against the steel types, good against, you know, Garganackle. Again, we've said it already. And then over here, ice coverage, ice punch, right? So, you know, a lot of these, again, water stab, ice stab, fighting stab, and then some random coverage move. In this case, it just happens to be flip turn. But again, I do like to go Adamant Nature here. At the very least, the third EV benchmark, right? 229, 231. In terms of speed, just a little bit, right? 156. Again, this will outspeed like Goldango stuff, but then, you know, you can do like speed creeping, the speed creepers, and then just go to like 140. And then from here, just 1 point in the bulk, and the rest just goes into HP, right? And even this could be a Life Orb set because you're ending with a 9. So if you care to, you know, use Palafin with the Life Orb, this is a good, you know, HP mark to hit. But if not, then you can just settle with the Choice Band for a little bit more extra damage. But yeah. So we've pretty much done all the 5. So now the question is like, well, which one do I want on my rain team? Well, if you want to like just look at tournament results, the Dreadnaw has the edge, technically a little bit. You know, in terms of results, the rock coverage is really nice, and again, the attack stat is really good, 183, especially if it's Adamant Nature. But the Dreadnaw has been pretty good. Especially with Terra Grass. Terra Grass is actually really nice Terra for it. The Palafin also is very successful. I believe has even more success than the Dreadnaw. If you want to like talk about tournament results, some Palafin teams are also run with the Pelipper plus one of these, right? Like either a Dreadnaw or a Beartic or a Barraskewda. The Palafin's also on there, but I don't really like that much. I believe like, yes, you have a Switzerland user, but I think, you know, it's either like Palafin and then just like support around the Palafin. I don't think you need like another sweeper with it. I think you just go for like grass coverage and steel coverage on your team. And if you look at some of the San Diego teams, that's exactly what they did. They had a dragon type user, whether it was Hydreigon or Salamence. Then they had either double steel, which was like Goldango and King Gamut, or double grass, which was Amoonguss and Meowscarada. And then the Pelipper plus a rain abuser, like the Palafin. And that was it. That was the 6. That was the most common 6 of rain teams that you would see in Series 1, right? Palafin does the most damage, I believe, right? Because of this base stat, you know, look, 231 versus the other one. So if you want a little bit more damage, Palafin is your man. But the other thing is, again, if you're a bandit set, you don't get access to protect like these guys. So it really all depends on how you want to build it. The Beartic is the slowest of the bunch, but besides the Palafin, has the higher attack stat just because 198. And look, I didn't even have to max it. Bulk is not too bad. All right. At least it's better than like Barraskewda or Floatzel, technically. But the coverage of being an ice type is worse than the others. Because again, ice does well offensively, but defensively, it hurts a little bit. But that's also why you put it on the rain team, to mitigate some of those weaknesses, right? So it's up to you. Things like Barraskewda and Floatzel, they're very fast, with Barraskewda being the fastest. So it's going to have a little bit of speed, but again, we put enough speed to outspeed Mousehold, so we had a certain benchmark outside of the rain. So that's the benefit of Barraskewda. You can outspeed a lot of things outside of the rain. Not completely reliant on Pelipper, just like this with outspeeding Mousehold. And you're still maxing out your attack with a little bit of bulk. So there's the advantage with Barraskewda there. Floatzel, still very fast, faster than the other guys, not as fast as Barraskewda. But again, meant for Goldango stuff, so that's an idea there. A lot of attack, pretty much max HP. The defenses aren't too great. So it's meant to be a little bit more offensive than, you know, some bulky stuff. But again, something with the coverage moves. Again, but you can also go for the same coverage on a lot of these, right? It's just all about your typing at the end of the day, right? And your speed tiers, which would allow you to invest either more or not as much in your bulk and or attack stat, right? So that's pretty much it, right? So in terms of like which one to pick, I definitely either go the Dreadnaw or the Palafin. They're the ones that have the most results. You know, these other three, they've underachieved a little bit, but they do have results, right? Except for the Floatzel. I don't really know much in terms of tournament results with the Floatzel. Yes, you get Wave Crash, so that's your one thing that you get over the others. But the others just offer more than just Wave Crash. Like, yes, you get Wave Crash, but then we just have more to offer elsewhere, right? So, but in terms of like my opinion, I think the Palafin Dreadnaw are the clear-cut winners. I think they have you know, good Terra typing to help compensate their original typings, just like the Dreadnaw. The rock coverage is really nice, and then the Palafin just does so much damage. You know, base 231 stat is really, really strong, and for that reason, I think it's the best rain sweeper. I wouldn't even like use the Dreadnaw, but I know some of you want like a rain sweeper, so you can definitely use that. I think it makes a lot of sense. But the Palafin is the clear-cut winner to me. It's got great bulk. Look, base 100 HP, 97 defense, 87 special defense. You know, the speed is not so important because you have Pelipper Tailwind. And that's the thing with these guys, right? You already have Pelipper Tailwind, so even with Swift Swim, you're just over speeding. You might as well just run like no speed on a lot of these things. Just go for like more bulk. And the only thing with that is you're more reliant on the Pelipper stuff, right? So it's really up to you. But for me, Palafin's the clear-cut winner. And maybe it might even do some more in Series 2 on a Rain team. I don't know how valuable Rain's going to be in Series 2. You know, you have the advantage of removing Torkoal's sun, but you still get the boost anyway, as long as the sun comes out one time, right? With the photosynthesis stuff. So, yeah, let me know what you think of our Rain sweepers, and let me know if I helped you a little bit in terms of like trying to pick a rain sweeper if you do decide to build a rain team. Again, we do stuff like this in coaching where like I show you, the viewer, like how to do EV spreads, what would be good sets depending on teams you would do. Basically, a lot of the teams and the team buildings that we've done on the channel is also done because of the viewer, because that is what they requested, right? But yeah, we'll be back with another video in the next one, guys. Peace out and have a good night.